Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
Okay, so I want to talk about the Boston Celtics, okay? The Boston Celtics are up 3-0 on the Indiana Pacers. It has been a snooze of a series, I'm not going to lie, especially since Tyrese Halliburton has been out. But I want to talk about Jason Tatum real fast, because Jason Tatum has been receiving a lot of hate because we don't, as an NBA fandom, or at least a lot of the NBA fandom, believes that Jason Tatum is a top-tier superstar. And last night, or not last night, the night before last, he had 36 points. I think he had 36 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, shot 52% from the field and 50% from three. Now, why I think this is so important. The Boston Celtics, I think, were down about 18 points with 5 minutes left to play in the third. Now, I think something clicked for the Boston Celtics to where they started playing well. But if we look at guys like Jaylen Brown, he had 24 points, had shot 20% from three, so he wasn't really shooting the best from three. I think Jason Tatum's starting to really get into his groove. I mean, we haven't seen the Boston Celtics be in a real clutch situation a lot in the playoffs, but I think when it's time for them to step up and play that way, they have answered the call. I mean, last game, I think it was game 1, overtime, Jason Tatum had 10 points. And this game where the Celtics needed to come back from being down 18 points, Jason Tatum had 36, and he shot 5 for 10 from the three-point line, shot 50%, and he shot 50% from the field as well, shooting 12 for 23. So one thing that I'm having trouble with is you can't really expect for a guy like Jason Tatum to have to go off in this type of sense, because they have not needed to. Now, in the end of the day, a lot of people are like, oh, this is the easiest path to the finals I've ever seen. This is the easiest path to the finals. That's why you become the 1 seed. That is why you become the 1 seed. Now, I don't think Jimmy Butler being injured changes the outcome of that series. Don't think Donovan Mitchell being healthy changes the outcome of the Cavs series. Don't think Tyrese Halliburton changes the outcome in the Pacers series. This is why you become the number 1 seed. Because if Boston were the 2 seed, they'd have to play Philly in the first round. They'd have to play Philly in the first round. If Boston was the number 2 seed, they'd probably have to play a healthy Bucks team in the second round. Then they would have to play, if let's say the Knicks went number 1 seed, they would have to play the Knicks in the third. This is why you win 64 games. This is why you take the regular season serious, so you can play that 8 matchup, so you can play a 4 or 5 seed team in the Eastern Conference, which is not as strong as it is in the West. So I don't understand that. Like, yeah, we talk about how Jimmy Butler's hurt, Jared Allen and Donovan Mitchell's hurt. I don't think it changes the impact of this these series, because in the end of the day, they're missing their 7-foot center in Kristaps Porzingis, the guy that can stretch the floor. The guy that they could play a 5-out offense in. The guy who has, since the season started, the guy who was an X factor for the Boston Celtics to win a championship. They're missing that guy. They're missing that guy. So I'm not going to put too much pressure on the Boston Celtics. I'm not going to sit here and overreact. Yes, Jason Tatum has had some stinkers in the first 7 games of the postseason this year. He was not playing well. I think he averaged about 21 points per game. Didn't shoot well from the field. But this is something I want to say as a sports analyst. When I watch these games, I want to talk about how the game is impacted in other ways than just shooting the ball. I think with a lot of people in the basketball world, you play bad if you did not shoot the ball well. Anthony Edwards in Game 7 against the Denver Nuggets did not have a good shooting game. Doesn't mean he played bad. The reason Anthony Edwards played well in Game 7 against the Denver Nuggets, because even though he was not making his shot, he still shot. He went 6 for 24 in that game, but he still took shots like he was in rhythm. That means the Denver Nuggets had to keep doubling and see what, and let's look at what happens. Jaden McDaniels now has 23 points. Karl Anthony Towns now has 23 points. Anthony Edwards can hit that late game shot to really put the nail in the coffin for the Timberwolves and have them win that game 7. So when we look at Jason Tatum in those first 7 games, nobody talks about the rebounds. Nobody talks about the assists. Nobody talks about the screens he sets. Nobody talks about the defense he plays. People They look at the stat sheet and they're like, oh, Jason Tatum's trash. Oh, Paul George is better than him. Oh, this, that, and the third. Jason Tatum is a great player. We're talking about a player that's been to the Eastern Conference Finals 5 times out of his 7-year career. A guy that holds the record for most points in a Game 7 in NBA history at 53. At 53, I think there was a game, maybe it was Game 5 or Game 4 against Philly last year. Jason Tatum was not playing good throughout the whole game. Bam, fourth quarter, I think he hits gets 8 straight points. 8 straight points. He's playmaking all game. He's rebounding all game. He's defending all game. A bad game, in my opinion, is you let your shot control your whole game to where if I'm not shooting the ball well, if I can't get myself going, I'm going to be a liability the whole game. Things that we've seen James Harden do. That's a bad playoff game. That is a bad playoff game. So in my opinion, the Boston Celtics are still a very good team. Very good team. Jason Tatum has all the attributes to be the number one on this team. Now, what I want to say is he's 6'9", roughly 225, 230. We want to see him go downhill a little more. Like there was a possession against TJ McConnell where he's trying to do a deep post fadeaway on a 6'4" TJ, maybe not even 6'4" TJ McConnell. Jason Tatum, you're 6'9", over 200 pounds. Go to the rim, bro. Go to the rim. Please. Like, Jason Tatum could be, I think if Jason Tatum just changed his shot tendencies just a little bit, he would be a top 5 player in the league. Locked. Take advantage of having the smaller players. Stop relying on the 3 because sometimes that's when you're not playing well. Get to the rim, get to the free throw line. And I feel as though we saw that in the fourth quarter against this Pacer team in Game 3. In Game 3, we saw that in the second half. He was getting to the rim. He was getting to the free throw line. He was attacking the mismatches. If we can get that every game from Jason Tatum, the Boston Celtics would be the overwhelming favorite to win the NBA Finals. They would be the overwhelming favorite. They live and die at the 3-point line. They live and die at the 3-point line. And it's not going to work against Dallas. It's not going to work against Dallas because the best thing that the Boston Celtics has had this whole postseason is if the 3-point line is not falling, you can make your way to the rim. It's not going to work against Dallas. It's not going to work against Dallas. You have to worry about Daniel Gafford down there. You have to worry about Derek Lively down there. You have to worry about these big bodies like Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington. Even Luka Doncic has been pretty solid on defense, giving an effort on defense to the point where you're going to have to make those difficult shots. So however you're going to do it, you're going to have to find a way to get to the rim. And you got to stop living you're going to have to stop living with these tough shots. You're going to have to stop living with shooting these shots beyond the arc because you're playing right into Dallas's hand. You're going to play right into Dallas's hand, and this series is going to be over in 5. One thing that was questionable for me is the Boston Celtics defense in Game 3. I mean, Andrew Nembhard, he had, I believe, 32 points. Now, it just didn't look like in the first half that the Boston Celtics were really locked in on defense, that they were really bought in on that defensive side of the basketball. They kind of locked in the second half, but I still think the defensive potential against the Dallas Mavericks is there. I mean, I'm sure Drew Holiday is going to take the Luka Doncic assignment until Jaylen Brown ends up doing it. I think Derek White is going to be on Kyrie Irving. I think if it were me, honestly, I would have Jaylen Brown on Luka Doncic, and then I would have Derek White and Drew Holiday kind of swap minutes on Kyrie Irving, because with these two all defensive type of talents in your starting lineup, you have the opportunity to be like, okay, Drew, you're going to take this possession. Okay, Derek, you're going to take this possession. So you can have a fresh defender on Kyrie Irving every single possession. But that's really what I want to talk about with the Boston Celtics is just, we've said all the time, you can only play who's in front of you. The Boston Celtics cannot control Jimmy Butler getting hurt in the play-in game. The Boston Celtics cannot control Donovan Mitchell being hurt in round 2. The Boston Celtics cannot control Tyrese Halliburton re-aggravating his hamstring in the Eastern Conference Finals. But one thing they can control is them being the number 1 seed. The Boston Celtics being the number 1 seed. So now they have to play the Miami Heat, who have not shot well all season. I don't think Jimmy Butler changes the outcome of that series. I truly don't. I truly don't. Don't think Donovan Mitchell changes the outcome of that series as well. Now, they did kind of catch a break that the Milwaukee Bucks did get hurt. Don't think the Milwaukee Bucks would have beat them in a 7-game series either. Boston was the overwhelming favorite all season in the Eastern Conference. Everything ran through Boston. Boston was the pick to come out of the Eastern Conference since 15 games into the season. 15 games. They were my pick to come out of the Eastern Conference ever since the Dame trade. No, not even since the Dame trade. Since they picked up Drew Holiday, they were my pick to come out of the Eastern Conference. So I don't know why we're complaining about injuries since Boston was the overwhelming favorite to come out anyway. There are some concerns how they live and die at the 3-point line. Jason Tatum's shot diet, but I still think Boston has more than enough to get it done. And it looks like they're going to be playing the Dallas Mavericks. So it's going to be a great series. I'm not going to give my prediction just yet because, once again, we all know that coming back from down 0-3 has never happened before, but it'll be just my luck that I do a finals prediction and the Timberwolves come back from 3-0. So I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it just yet. But that's my take on the Boston Celtics. The last topic we have coming up is going to be the postseason awards. The postseason awards is where I talk about who has been the most surprising team, who has been the most disappointing team, who has been the best rookie, who has been the best coach, and the all postseason team. That means I'm going to do 5 players who I think have had the best postseason. It's coming up next. Let's do it.